Yep.
You guys are on the same circuit.
It's down at the,
What time are we doing
down in
it?
the Salvation Army.
Couldn't get a spot anywhere.
And see you lift
The
any
architectural
turkeys though.
review thing. And, and the park commission. Yeah, I was over by the fire department. What time are we doing on the,
I think we're ready. All right, welcome everybody to the Rye Town Council meeting of November 20th, 2018. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing. Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage, grant us the wisdom to make every decision fair-minded and the best interest for all its residents. Amen.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilperson Lindsay Jackson.
Here.
Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Here.
Councilperson Jill Axelrod.
Here.
Councilperson Anthony Baxter.
Here.
And Supervisor Gary Zuckerman.
Here, thank you. Our first item is adoption of our minutes of October 20th, 2018. May I, if there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. We have first our public hearing on the 2019 preliminary budget. Motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is now open. Dave, our controller, do you want to give a brief presentation of our budget?
Okay, the 2019 preliminary budget that you have in front of you is just the current budget of record that reflects changes from the tentative budget that was submitted to the town clerk on October 30th. The next round of this budget in terms of changes can be made, and there'll be at the December 18th meeting a vote to adopt the budget with any additional changes. So some of the highlights for the budget are for 2019, there's a total tax levy of $762,745. Overall, there's budget increases from appropriations from operations of $68,028, which is a 2.3% increase from the 2018 adopted budget. The 2019 preliminary budget also reflects an increase of $60,000 in revenue over the 2018 adopted budget. Some of the highlights, overall, the tax levy is a $514,312 increase in tax levy from the 2018 adopted budget. The main reason for that is debt service, but some of the highlights in the preliminary budget, which also includes changes from the tentative budget, there's a 2.8% merit increase for all town employees, part-time and full-time staff. That is the same cost of living increase that Social Security is adopting for 2019. So that was what was used in this budget. The debt service reflected in the 2000 preliminary budget totals $621,338. That's a net increase in net debt service of about $316,000. In 2018 budget, the town received a $319,000 advance premium on the debt service. So we were able to offset that against the first year's payment in 2017, which was made in October. There's no allocation of fund balance towards the 2019 preliminary budget for 2019. As part of this budget, we will be asking the board to vote on a local law to adopt for establishing exceeding the tax cap, and that's being generated by the debt service payments that are due in 2019. The 2% tax cap for the town, which with carryover would be about $10,000 or 4%. So with that limit on tax cap and with the debt service in there, that's why we're asking the board to approve exceeding the tax cap. The adoption of this budget with any changes is scheduled for December 18th. It must be approved by December 20th, but December 18th is the last board meeting, so that we'll be asking the board to approve for that. This current budget reflects input from all department heads, as well as input from the town board and budget workshop meetings.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dave.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak at on the preliminary budget? Seeing none, are there any council members who wish to speak on the budget?
I would like to speak on the budget just because I want to explain to the taxpayers that the town of Rye budget is very different than most municipalities. So when you hear a 2% tax increase, or that we're going through the tax cap, it means a lot to people, and people start to get nervous. Rye is a very small portion of the overall tax bill. And as you know, Dave pointed out that the 2% tax cap, that's about $10,000, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, compared to other municipalities and higher taxing entities, we're kind of extremely boxed in by the tax cap, because we have been so fiscally responsible, and, you know, because we are a different type of municipality, and we don't charge for certain services that others do, police, fire, DPW. Obviously, those are handled by the villages. You know, we don't have to, but this also tied our hands for Crawford Park, the debt service there, and it's, you know, important that, you know, people understand we had to move forward with that, and that's where the increase is.
Thanks, Lindsay. Anybody else?
I'd just like to thank all the department heads and everyone involved, Dave, for putting the budget together. I think it's very responsible. We had a lot of conversation regarding it. I echo Lindsay's sentiments. It's never easy to pass a law like this, but when you look at the numbers and you realize the benefits that the community will realize from the improvements at Crawford Park, I think it's a wise investment that we decided to make, and when we see the finished result, I think we'll all be happy with it.
Yeah, let me just amplify one thing. The average homeowner in the town of Rye, even with this payment of debt service, will probably see a tax bill for the town of less than $75 for the year. That's not $75 per thousand, that's $75 for the year. So in return, the town gets a great many services, obviously, our assessment, collection of taxes, and most importantly, as our council members have pointed out, and as have our controller, we are, the increase is virtually because of the improvement to Crawford Park, which, by the way, has started interior construction. They were scheduled to lay the concrete for the elevator pit today, and the elevator shaft should be completed within the month, and everything is moving forward as scheduled. So we're hopeful that by this summer we'll have a completely new community center, and everybody will be invited to come to it. So I also want to point out something else that Dave mentioned in passing. We are not taking any money from our fund balance this year. We have in years past, and that's one reason why there has been no tax increase at all for the years that I've been the supervisor and the members of the board have been here. And, you know, in years past as well. I don't know exactly how, you know, how it worked prior to my time, but we did take some fund balance, and I believe that, Dave, am I correct, fund balance was used in years past as well?
Yes.
Yeah. We are not taking any fund balance, so we maintain, in that way, fiscal Conservancy.
And it's important to note that one of the reasons why the fund balance in Rye Town is so important is because we're a tax collecting entity. And whether or not we are collecting the taxes from the residents, you know, whether they're having difficult times or unable to pay taxes for whatever reason, the town of Rye is still responsible for making the local school districts, the villages, the county as well whole. So we do need to have that tax balance in case there are any issues there.
Thank you, Lindsay. Absolutely correct. Okay, and with that, we're not going to close the public hearing. We're going to hold the public hearing open. We are going to adjourn the public hearing to the December 18th.
I think we need to close the public hearing.
We do?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, Jeff can confirm that, but it's because if we're gonna make changes to this budget, the public hearing needs to be closed for that to happen, from my understanding.
All right. Dave, you're the control. You've been here a long time. I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll on this then, please, Hope.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes.
Could I ask one clarifying question? If the members of the public have comments, they're not here tonight, but do they submit them? How do they submit them? How do they forward comments regarding the budget?
They can, they can send to the town or any of the board members, the board can make changes to this budget before
Okay.
it approves and adopts it.
And they can also speak at the next meeting it won't be a formal public hearing, but we have a procedure that anybody can speak.
Right,
So-
that's correct.
Thank you. We have another public hearing on local law number 3. May I have a motion which is to adopt a local law to override the 2% tax cap? May I have a motion and a second to open that public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Dave, I think you can make a brief presentation. You already did on what this is about.
Yeah, it's for the board to exceed the tax cap, and as Lindsay mentioned, our tax cap is very limited because the tax levy has been so low, so we would only be able to increase it by 10,000 in total. And with the new debt service, that's just impossible. So we're asking the board to approve a local law to exceed the tax cap. That's part of the requirement to exceed the 2%. And one other point to mention is that where school districts are exempt from including debt service in their tax cap, towns and villages, other municipalities are not exempt for that. So debt service does count towards the tax cap calculation. And so that's the reason why we're asking for the board to approve this local law.
Thank you. Does any member of the public wish to speak on overriding the tax cap, local law? Seeing none, do any of the council people wish to speak on this?
Well, I just want to reiterate that, overriding the tax cap, it's not something that's taken lightly. We are cognizant of, the impact. But again, as Gary described, the overall tax bill is going to be around 70, right, Gary? I think.
It's about 75. Well, it depends on your assessed value of your
Yeah.
home.
Yeah, but on average,
But
so,
I think we figured out on a home of about $800,000 assessment,
Right.
it would be about
About
70.
500,000, it's about $50
Right.
would be the town
Right.
town
So,
tax.
right, so it would be 75, it was about 800,000 or so. So that's, if your home is assessed less, then you'll pay less. And if you have a $10 million home, you'll pay a little bit more.
Do we know what the percentage increase is anticipated in the preliminary budget?
Well, the dollar increase is from 762, 745 in tax levy, from 248, 433.
Okay.
And
I just meant by individual homeowner, like an estimated percentage.
No, well, it would be the same thing. It would be,
so, well, if it's, right, so if somebody was at 25 for 2018, they'd be at 75 for 2019 for the year.
all right. I'm sorry, did we close the public hearing? I think,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
call the roll, please.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter, and
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. And now, a resolution approving local law number 3 of 2018 regarding the tax cap, which basically says what we just went over. May I have a motion and a second?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes, thank you. The rest of the resolutions, first, I guess, Dave, this is you also. Resolutions modifying the 2018 budget, budget modifications and transfers. I mentioned this, I think, at the last meeting, that during the course of the year, some of the budget lines go over, some of the budget lines go under what the budget calls for, and we need to make budget modifications towards the end of the year to reconcile that with the overall budget. Am I correct, David? Do you want to add to that, please?
That's correct. So the overall budget and appropriations for 2008 has not changed. It's the budget line items. So we typically would try to do is within departments, if one budget line is over, we try to pull from another budget line item so that even the department's budgets in total are not changing. So this just accounts for some changes, and there's maybe some case it's a one-time additional cost over the budget, so we pull it from another budget line item. We also look at what the impact is to the next year's budget, whether we needed to increase the next year's budget if it's not a one-time thing. So in some cases, we've done that, and if it actually is a decrease, we will decrease the 2019 budget for that budget line item. But it's an in and an out, but overall, the appropriations budget 3.6 did not change.
Thank you. I mean, we can give an example. Just the very first one is in the judicial line. The budget was $7,200, but we're adding $261 and to the library cost item, and the training item was $3,800, and we're taking away $261. So the judicial budget is the same, but within that, the lines change based on what was actually spent.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is the
And if
first.
the judges are watching me, I apologize for picking your line out first,
Yeah,
but
well, and we most likely may have a second round of budget transfers at the January meeting once we have some more solid numbers for year end for some other expense categories, with the same principle in mind that we're not increasing the appropriations for the total budget.
all right. So we now have a resolution to make those budget modifications as set forth in the schedule. May I have a motion and a second for the budget modification resolution?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
If there's no further discussion, Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes, Thank you, Dave, and I want to thank you especially for all the work you did on the budget, on the modifications, and keeping everybody straight, and making sure all the numbers add up. It's very much appreciated. David, I got to say this. You kind of stay in the background, and I know you like it that way, but you are an integral part of the operation of the town. You are the controller, and you have your fingers and your hands all over these numbers, and you know how to make them work, and you know what's right to do, what's not right to do, and I think all of us really appreciate the work that you do, and thank you very, very much.
I think he's just trying to say you're stealth.
What was that?
Stealth.
Oh, okay. I think the next one Hope has to explain very briefly. A resolution regarding standard workday.
Okay, the New York State local retirement system has notified me and gave me a list of elected and appointed officials that belong to the retirement system. And they are aware of people that work for the town. And in order for them, the people that work for the town, in order for them to get coverage towards their pension, they have to submit a calendar of it's called, well, they have to submit a 3-month calendar, a record of activities to me, and we will calculate the amount that will be credited towards the retirement system. And it's a formula that they have given us to establish the amount of hours, excuse me, and days that will be credited to them. So therefore, we have to pass this resolution and submit their activities.
All right, thank you, Hope. May I have a motion in a second?
Hope, I just have a question. Is this,
Let's do the
Okay.
motion in second first.
I'll make a motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Discussion.
Does this add any cost? Is the town paying any costs, or it comes out of the salaries, correct?
Comes out of the salaries.
You pay into?
You pay into it.
For the retirement system,
Mm-hmm.
the town does contribute to the state. It reports monthly the activity of compensation and service credit to the state for reporting, and it does get billed for each employee in the retirement system based on their tier, an annual invoice based on their compensation.
But we also put into it, don't we? Each week,
Yes,
each paycheck.
The state retirement system is a little complicated,
Yeah.
but I'll use an example of Tier 4. A Tier 4 employee who's been here for many years contributes 3% into their retirement system for a 10-year period. After the 10 years is met, they don't contribute anymore. But the town still, just like every other municipality and school district, contributes towards their employees' retirement, and they're billed for that.
So would this increase the cost that we pay into the
It's more
retirement system?
to define what service credit, based upon the hours, it establishes a minimum standard workday for elected and appointed officials, which apparently is changing. And that's the reason why it's being presented, because it used to have a different requirement. So, and based upon what those elected and appointed officials are working, a full-time employee that works the full-time week gets a full year's worth of service credit. If you work less than that, you get less than a full service credit, and then that's what gets reported.
So it wouldn't
It wouldn't.
affect what the town's payment is for
No,
retirement?
would
Okay.
not, no, because that's totally based off of the actual compensation times a rate based upon which tier that you're in. If you're in Tier 1, which we have a couple employees in Tier 1, it's a higher contribution to the state.
Not too many in Tier 1.
So,
I think there are 2.
there are 2.
So there's no budgetary implications, there's
No,
nothing that, okay.
There's not.
That was,
All right.
Long answer.
sorry.
Thank you, David.
I just want
It
to add
proves his
also,
worth, proves his worth again.
That's it?
Yes, Hope.
Anyone that signs in, they're not obligated to fill out this form because we
Okay.
have a record of their timekeeping. It's just the people mostly
Thank
that
you.
are part-time.
Thank you. We've had a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod,
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes, thank you. And the next one is a resolution for professional services contract for Manny Patoli. Debbie, I think this is yours.
Do you want me to handle it from here, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, our wonderful project administrator of many, many years, Greg Arcaro, made it very clear a year ago that he intends to decrease his hours and increase his retirement. So we have been very lucky that Greg has agreed to remain and work on projects and help us with grants administration. However, it was necessary to find somebody with the kinds of analytical skills that Greg had to work on special projects for us. The person that responded to our advertising through NYU Wagner Graduate School of Public Service was Manahor Patoli, or Manny Patoli, who has graduate degrees in data management, in engineering, and in urban planning. And he has a particular expertise in water management. And he's very particularly interested in that. So he also has just finished a 2-year fellowship at the New York State Department of Parks, where he conducted surveys throughout the state on issues that are really resonant with the issues that we are handling with our parks. So he seemed to be just a wonderful match, and he has agreed to work with me on an operating model for the new Crawford Park Community Center. And so far, it's been going very well.
Questions from the board?
I just want to add that actually last Friday, I had the pleasure of meeting Manny and going over some of his ideas. He's extremely intelligent, has some great visions for the town. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Arcara and all the work that he's done for the town as well. We wouldn't have gotten to this point without him, and we're grateful for that. I do have one question. And it's just about the budgetary impact, because I know we have money set aside for this. The resolution does not have a not to exceed amount. Is it what we have set aside for?
It's always been my intention that we work within the budget line that we have.
Yeah, for
correct.
Mr. Arcara.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. So I was looking at this rather as a zero-sum game.
Okay, fantastic. And like I said, I'm very excited. I think he's going to
I
be a
hope so as well.
wonderful resource.
Yes.
So-
Also, I would add that Manny is less expensive per hour than Greg.
Yes.
On the resolution, along those lines, it says that the wording says a rate of $50, and then in parentheses it says 40. So
40. I didn't realize that
it's
there was
40,
that the
so
wording was
we
there.
would just need to correct that, whichever it's going to be.
Good catch. It's 40, correct?
It's 40.
Right. That's even better than 50. Don't tell Manny I said that. Okay. Did we have a motion did we have one? I don't remember.
I usually,
I don't even know if we motioned.
No, did we make a mo?
I don't think we motioned.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. A second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilperson Jackson? Council-
Enthusiastically, yes.
Okay. Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Baxter?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. We are at the reports. Does the assessor have a report?
Good evening, everybody. I have nothing official to report unless you have any questions for me. I did want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and also I wanted to thank you for your thoughtful deliberations and considerations during the budget process. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well.
Our highway report is submitted. Nick, do you have a report you want to give, or let the written report stand? Thank you, Nick. And our town clerk, I know she has something to add to her regular report. Town clerk's report is submitted. Do you have anything else to add?
Just the mobile shredder will be coming. It's on a Sunday this time, December 2nd. That's the only opening they had.
That's for the public.
Right, and
correct?
it's for the residents, for the public.
Okay,
Yes.
that's great.
Where will it be held?
Oh, okay, at 222 Grace Church Street in the parking lot. Thank
Right.
you, from 10 to 1.
I think that's a great service that the county performs for us. I know I have a little shredder, and, feeding those one pieces of paper at a time is nothing like taking the boxes.
Yeah, they give us a great service.
I know.
And I wish everyone blessings for this Thanksgiving.
I think, comments from our council people? Does anybody wish to make comments on anything at all?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge that we had Veterans Day this past week. And as always, King Street Elementary does a fantastic ceremony, sort of passing on the tradition of honoring our veterans to our young people, which I think is extremely important. I want to thank all the volunteers and those involved. I also want to acknowledge Dave Thomas, who does wonderful work along with Greg Carcara, who's involved, for the African American Cemetery, which was, another event that I attended this weekend. And Mr. Thomas has become so involved in the cemetery that he started and took courses on how to clean the gravestones, and the work he's done is really incredible. There's also, the VFW here in Portchester that contributed greatly and had their wonderful ceremony. And I also went to Atria in Rybrook, and they had a lot of wonderful veterans there, some even from World War II, and it was fascinating. So I want to thank all of those who served, and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Lindsay. Tommy?
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Jill?
Of course, I echo those sentiments. Happy and healthy to everyone.
So just a couple of things. With Hope Celebration last month, I didn't get a chance to mention that the Sustainability Committee hosted Ron Kamen on October
right.
11th in our latest educational series on electric vehicles, and I think it was very well received. And with that, happy Thanksgiving to all.
And the only thing I have to add is also happy Thanksgiving and a joyous holiday season to everybody. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Executive?
No.
Tommy, I think.
No.
Oh, you're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.